assumed dead, because I left for Japan earlier than a lot of them and didn't get on the Red Cross list or anything, and assumed dead. And now they say he's dead. And everybody in my family thought I was dead, but my daddy. My daddy said, well, if I take the $10,000, what's the deal if he's still alive? You'll have to pay it back. He said, well, I think you ought to keep him until I don't even want to put my head down until I know for sure that he is dead. So when MacArthur, they went back, and that was when they went back and took it. I don't want to tell you now how we got out of there and then wind this thing up. We were being bombed every 30 minutes by the B-29s. And we knew that, we saw a map that they had Americans had taken Okinawa. We knew that then, but they had told us they was going to kill all prisoners of war, and the Americans invaded their homeland. Now we could not figure, as Marines, sailors, or soldiers, we couldn't figure any way for this war to come to an end without an invasion. And all of a sudden we saw we were hit by the carrier bombers, the aircraft off the carriers. We knew that they were close. We knew, and they kept, and our treatment still was, every time they hear a plane crash or something, they beat us. They just pick any time, just all the time, beating us for no reason at all that they wanted to do that. So then we had accepted that. So here come the interpreter and told us that the Americans had dropped a bomb on Hiroshima that was so big that it killed everybody, and so it destroyed the whole town. And if you're sitting 75 miles away reading the newspaper, it would petrify you. We thought it was some kind of a propaganda stunt. We couldn't believe it. We still saw them training the old men and old women for a possible invasion. We found out that they had 250 Zero planes fully equipped with explosives, and the pilots ready for the invasion force. And then when they hit their homeland, they were going to hit them with these planes, hit the American forces. So we didn't even have any idea that there was anything that we could do about it. So the next morning after they told us about the atomic bomb, we didn't say it was an atomic bomb, we said a big bomb. They took us out to an old rice field. And here come two trucks. One truck was loaded with 4 machine guns and 16 soldiers. The other truck was loaded with 10 soldiers and picks and shovels. And they told us they wanted us to have a grave dug 6 foot long, 4 foot deep, 2 feet wide, 4 holes of dirt up on the side. If you don't have it done in 2 days, you're in trouble, serious trouble. Well, they beat and banged us, and we pulled that epileptic fit all the time. It looked like they'd run from you when you do that. So then come the end of the second day, man, they were mean as they could be. Next morning, we got up and went out there, and there was a bulldozer there, big bulldozer. So we knew what that was going to do. And when bulldozer, a big hole in the ground, shoot us off. So they were real fidgety that day. We thought maybe they'd come in there and beat on us, trying to get us to dig a deeper hole. But they didn't take us back to the camp like they did the other 2 days for 15 minutes. And then finally a guy came up on a bicycle and told him. We went back to camp. And while we was in camp, we would give them 55 minutes. And they'd knock on the door and say, "I'll fall out in 5 minutes." And when they knocked on the door and said, "Fall out in 5 minutes," we heard something, and this guy was a 200 Coast Guard run outside. And he came back in and he said, "Hey fellas," he said, that was a B-29 in the valley coming straight at us with the bomb bay doors open, and if he's got one of those big bombs, we're all gone. So I went outside with a lot of us laid on my back. Across the street was a textile mill, 5 stories high, about 3 foot football fields long, and it was and that B-29 came in and dropped a 2,000 pound right in the center of it, killed about 400 of them in there. So forth. I was laying, I didn't see the bomb, somebody said they did, but anyway, I saw it when it hit the top of that building. So they pulled us out and made us work all that night until 9 o'clock, getting the dead and injured out. And the next morning, they came and said that the Americans and Filipinos, Americans and Japanese are talking, there may be a truce. They hit Nagasaki the same day they dropped 32,000 pound bombs at 30 locations, 30 cities throughout Japan. And that brought the emperor to a table. Now, if you'd have been through all of that, would you feel like one day we were digging our own grave and we knew that they had the ability? Would you feel like it was a godsend that we did get out of there within 5 minutes of the time? There's some things I haven't told you, I think most of them in my book, but I just didn't have the time, don't have the time to tell everything. But you cannot imagine what feeling went over us. And then when the emperor talked 2 days later, and it was over with, here we were, ready for free, ready to face freedom again. And we actually cried when we found out the emperor was going to be left in Spain, in place. My feeling was so much, so bad, not only me, everybody. When we landed, as 21 hours took off and turned ourselves in at Lycos's headquarters on the 4th of September 1945, they put us on a plane where we flew to Okinawa and changed planes. When we landed in Okinawa, there was all this equipment around, man. There was a whole island. You could hardly see a place to park a car without some equipment there, getting ready for the invasion. And if I could have gotten some tank or something like at that point, I would have gone. Now, when I stood in front of the feller that had the saber ring, I think that I'm going to refer to something. We found it biblically in Mark 13, 11, chapter 13, verse 11. It says that when you have or in a situation where you are arrested or you're forced to some condition, Jesus said, it was then said in writing, that the Holy Ghost will give you the right words to say. Don't say anything until He gives you the right words. And I'm totally convinced that that's exactly what brought these words to my lips. I knew nothing about the Japanese spiritual aspect, and they told me that, Lord, let's say what I said. When I said that, I looked up, when they walked me to that holding ground, I looked up and said, thank you, God. Thank you. I knew He had. Now, on the hatred, my hate book was full, up to the top. And if you go to Matthew 18:15, verse 15 to 32, you'll find out it's very, very important. After I got home, I had hate for 30 years. I had nightmares for 30 years. I was still in bondage for the Philippines, for the Japanese. They still had control of it from the grave, actually. And actually, everything, you go there and they say forgiveness is one way and the only way to the kingdom of heaven. And I believe that, because once I got forgiveness, I started getting forgiveness, my whole life changed, my whole attitude. Terry came home one time and said she's going to buy a Japanese car. And I said, where are you going to park it?
Yeah.
You're not going to park it here, why? No, you're not. I'm not going to give you the money to get it. I'm not going to help you at all. And I said, she said, well, no, this thing's been over with a long time. You've got to get rid of that stuff. Now, I I said, well, I got to get rid of it. I had to convince myself too. And I called home when I came home. I got back to San Francisco. This is what was on my mind and something else. But I called home and my mother answered the phone. Now they thought I was dead. My daddy thought I was still alive. But my mother answered the phone and my middle name is Dowling. And so I answered the phone. She said, who is this? I said, Dowling. Blue phone went dead. So her sister, my aunt was, favorite aunt was there, and she came to the phone and said, who is this? And I said, Dowling. She fainted. So then my sister came to the phone and she asked who it was, and I told her, and she fainted. So my daddy came to the phone, he said, who is this? And I told him, he said, well, I'm the only one in the family that didn't think you was dead. It sure looks like I got 3 dead women. He said, you hold on, don't you go anywhere. I'm going to go. He went and got a pitcher of water, poured it in. He said the eyelashes are moving and their face was looking a little bit. The arms and feet are moving. They'll be all right to talk to you in a little bit. Now that was a wonderful thing. And I look at Old Glory. I call it Old Glory out high.
Amen.
We buried Old Glory in Bataan, and it was the intention to get it. It never was. Nobody ever got back to it. And the 92nd Airborne sent a full colonel, and a sergeant major, command sergeant major, to Wichita, Kansas. We were having a welcome home for all the people in Kansas, all the veterans in Kansas. And they presented me that flag with a plaque, saying it would replace the one I referred to in my book. Now, that was touching time. I want to tell you one other thing, and then I'll have to wind it up, because I know all of you got to go someplace, and my time's run out. But this is sort of hard, really, sometimes to say. But if I had to forgive the Japanese, I would have never been standing up here today. I'd have been dead. A little Japanese girl came to here in the United States, studying to be a missionary, and Terry and I had gotten involved with the camp where they were, and where the service was going on, and they are living in Alabama. And they had a thing, was going to cook for all of us, all of them for us, all of us people that volunteered while they were here. And this little Japanese girl, my book came out, they were talking about the book and everything. Nobody wanted to hurt her feelings. Terry called her Sunshine. That's what God told her to call her. And everything was going fine, but we didn't know what she asked Dr. Sandy, could she do something for me? So when we got there, she put me in the middle of the floor. And everybody crowded around. And she went to the restroom and came back with a pail of water. And she pulled off her shoes and socks and washed my feet and started praying for her government, her people to forgive Americans for what they did, and apologize and ask for forgiveness from us. Now, when Jesus was on the cross, I know all of you know this, but what did he say in the last minute? He said, forgive them. My Father, forgive them. My Heavenly Father, forgive them. For they know not what they do. Now, I know the Japanese knew what they were doing, but I knew I had to get rid of that hatred. And what you see of me right now at 87 years old, 86, 1st of December, and my birthday present for that time, 88. I'm going backwards. That's what I really want to do, is go backwards. What I'm going to really get is a 3-wheel motorcycle. I'm going to be able to ride, and like this. I think all of you maybe, the motorcycle and riding a motorcycle is like the eagle, the soar. And you feel that, have that feeling of freedom that nowhere else you get it, not to my knowledge. Now, some fighter pilots and some airplane people may get that kind of feeling, but on Earth, that's all. And I'm proud to be able to, and I'm going to take my little time, and I'm going to get on that thing, and I might stop way back here for a traffic light up there. I'm going to be sure that everybody sees me. Stand up and wave at them. But anyway, I thank you so much for listening to me. There's so many things I can't tell because I don't have time, and I go through it and I don't come out. But I want you to know our freedom is the most precious thing that we can possess. And we must as a nation protect it against all, regardless, from without coming in or with an end trying to take over our way of life. And as long as we stand together, that's what we can do. I speak to a lot of military people, and I speak to them about the union between friends. I could not have done what I did. I could not be here today if it hadn't been for my friends. And that's very important to have friends. And that goes from all throughout freedom. Freedom is freedom to do what you feel, what's right. And usually anybody that possesses a desire to be free is going to do right, because that freedom represents the right thing and America, I think. And I want to thank all of you for listening to me, being